Hey guys, Matt with CJ Off-Road here. Now today I'm in front of my 2018 JL Wrangler, and one of the first things that I like to do to the Jeeps after modifying pretty much everything is add on some nice lights. Now our friends over at Rigid sent us over a 10-inch Rigid Adapt light bar, and I've been drooling over these things for years. I couldn't wait to see one in person, finally get my hands on it, actually play with it and wire it up. Now today we're going to be installing this Rigid light bar as well as wiring it up completely, and I'll show you some of the steps on how to get that done. As you can see here, it has already been installed in the front bumper, and I'm going to tell you guys right now that is the simplest part of this install. All you've got to do is find 2 holes and a flat mounting surface and go ahead and mount that right on. Now this Rigid Adapt light bar comes in 10-inch all the way up through 50-inch sizes in 10-inch increments. They're pretty much universal for any location you can find on the JL or off-road vehicle. And if you've got a hood on your JL Wrangler, you can run the 20-inch Adapt light bar with the included brackets that Rigid provides you. Now this light bar here is going to cover every single beam pattern and allow us to change the RGB backlight color with the included Rigid switch. That's enough of me talking. This is mounted up, so I'm not going to go through that process. It comes with the brackets and it's a simple bolt-on installation. But the fun part is going to get it wired up into our JL Wrangler, and I'll show you some of the tricks that I did to make it look really clean. Okay guys, so the first thing that we're going to do is feed the wire down through the inner fender. Now I don't have any inner fenders on my JL right now. We're going to be doing some aluminum ones, so we've held off on that. But what I did is run this down through the harness and then down through right behind the grill. And this is coming from our light bar, and this is from the main harness. Now make sure you don't have anything plugged in up front. You don't want to have anything hooked up to your battery while messing with connections. But what we're going to do here is attach the corresponding wires, red to red, white to white, and then black to black using some heat shrink butt connectors. So we've already got them stripped back. We'll put the butt connectors on, heat shrink those down, and then we'll be good to go. Now I like to use the heat shrink butt connectors simply based upon the fact that once you heat them up, it completely seals these. There are many other different variations of wiring that you can do to this. However, this is one way and one option. So if you don't like this way, you can definitely do it exactly the way you're accustomed to. You can solder these, heat shrink them, do whatever you'd like. This is just my suggestion and how I personally do it. Okay guys, you can see we've got white to white, black to black, and red to red. Now we're going to use a heat gun to shrink these down and then use some Tessa tape, wrap this all up, and continue. So guys, we've disconnected our control module here off of pretty much every switch that you can attach it to. This one has to go inside the cab, and this is one of those parts that's not really that fun. So I've fished a red wire through a grommet on the passenger side firewall, wrapped it around here. You can see the plugs on this end. And then what we're going to do is fish it back through and make sure that this end goes through. This is, like I said, it's not hard to mount it. It's just the wiring that's going to be a little bit more tedious. But make sure you take your time and really wrap this tight when it goes back through on its journey. So with this one, it's really not fun. It's going to be on the inside here on the firewall. I don't have inner fenders installed. If you do, pop 2 clips off and you can reach back up there and feel a rubber grommet. I suggest popping a long screwdriver through the inside of the vehicle. That'll easily go through on the outside. They are offset, so one grommet on the inside is lower than the one on the outside, so you have to angle it a little bit to get it through there. Once you have that done, fish a wire through. I like to use a wire that's pre-existing on the outside or a screwdriver, tape it to the front, jam it through, grab it, tie it onto here, and then pull it back. So I'm going to have Ryan go on the inside and pull this, and we're going to get it through. Okay guys, now here's a little surprise that we did for this Rigid Adapt light bar. This light bar control module fits perfectly in one of these spare panel deletes if you've got a Sport, Sport S, or Sahara. It's not going to work with a Rubicon because it'll sit right where all your lockers and everything would go. However, this fits perfectly inside there, and then what we did was added 2 little L brackets with bolts on the top and put that onto the 3M adhesive. It is super firm, it's not going anywhere, and plus when this is in place, it's going to look like a factory switch right next to our auxiliary switches. So the part number on here, if you don't have it, is 6 Charlie Bravo 8 7 Tyler X-Ray 7 Alpha Alpha. If you don't have this part number or you don't want to ruin your brand new one that you have in your Jeep, go ahead and grab another one. They're pretty cheap, and then just modify it like this. But this is the perfect way. I was kind of debating on the JL exactly where to put it, and having it here, it just fits perfectly. All the buttons work, and it was almost designed to fit in there. So props to Rigid for not even trying to do that, but it fits perfectly. Now, in order to get this mounted up, we are going to have to pull some panels off. So the first thing that I'm going to do is pop the panel off here that holds on our controls, and then we're going to work on this lower panel and then pop that piece off. You don't have to do this if you're not going to wire it up this way. However, this is the cleanest way I could see doing it, so this is the way I want to do it. go ahead and grab a trim removal tool and go under this corner and simply pop it off. There are some clips all the way to the other side, and then it'll pop pretty much right out. You've got a couple things to disconnect. Your push button start will be the first to go, and then the center section right here, we're gonna pop off as well, and just set this right up top here to the side. Now we're gonna remove this screw right on top. Go around the edges, and this all pops into place the same way the upper part did. Is simply go behind here. You're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to remove the 2, 3, 4 screws that hold this on and go ahead and pop the new one into place. It's a little bit tricky to see, and I don't feel like disconnecting everything, so that's what we're going to do now. Okay guys, so here's the old piece. We got it out. Now what I'm going to do is have the new piece disconnect it from our main switch. It feeds in through the back, so it's actually even easier. Get it all pressed into place. Looking good. And then go ahead and start reinstalling these little tiny 5.5mm screws. Once again guys, this is one way to do it. I can't stress that enough when it comes to these types of installs. You could put this adapt bracket anywhere you can find in your off-road vehicle. However, for me, this is where I wanted to put it. Just like Bob Ross when he wanted to put little happy trees in the corner. This JL isn't your painting, it's mine. All right guys, that's what it's gonna look like. All mounted up. I don't know about you, but I think that is one of the cleanest looking switch installs. We've already got our auxiliary switches right here, so this is exactly the way I wanted to do it. This is pretty much perfect in my eyes. I put a little L brackets behind there so you have plenty of support, plus a 3M in the back isn't gonna hold up anything. So that's exactly the way I wanted to do it right there. Now luckily for us, we got a wire bundle right here where we pulled in for the auxiliary switches. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set this in the right spot, flip this down, pop this out, dismantle half of my Jeep because I really want it to look good. Then all we're gonna do is we're gonna trace this wire. See this bundle right here? We're gonna trace it back right through along this, and then we're gonna figure out a place back there to mount our control module. Then the last thing we've got to do is tap our red wire into some triggered positive by the key. So now we're gonna feed the switch wire up through this top portion of the control panel and then run it into the glove box. I'm actually gonna pull all the slack out of it now so I can get everything in here reconnected. And then we're gonna mount our switch box right inside of where the glove box would go into the back. So we're just gonna get this all wrapped up here, close it back up, and get everything connected. So one thing that you also have an option with is this auxiliary accessory port. Now the only wire we need in our application is this red one, which is going to trigger pretty much everything with the switch console. You've got 3 other options here. There's 2 other accessory ports as well as a GPS wire, which we do not have, however, is an option on this kit. Now the trigger wire I'm going to use, you can either use a keyed power source, or for our purposes, we've got these interior auxiliary switches, and I'm going to tap into auxiliary 1. This is a relayed switch, so basically I'll turn on auxiliary 1 and give power to everything. Now what that's also going to allow me to do is if I have the Jeep off, I can go inside to my screen, program it so I can turn this on even when the vehicle's off, so I can use some light at night, or leave the RGB function on when I'm at a show or something cool like that. So we're going to use a heat shrink connection, go onto our auxiliary 1, plug this all in, get everything tucked away, and then show you guys what it looks like. So this is the control module, and as you can see, we've got everything plugged in. This one here that says light on it, that's the one that we fished through on the outside of the vehicle. That one goes all the way up into the relay, and that's what actually turns the light on and off. This switch is the one we ran up through the dash and utilized that factory component, and then the accessory is going to be your trigger wire, which we decided to wire to auxiliary 1. So that's pretty much everything in a nutshell that needs to be wired up through there. The one that we had to pull through the firewall came up through the corner, and then we just ran it up right behind here to tuck it all away. Now I'm gonna go through and zip tie and find a nice place for this to store. But until then, all we've got to do is hook up the battery connections, which is a simple 1/2 inch size socket, hook those both up, and you're done. So I'm gonna call the install quits right here. We're just gonna fine tune this, tuck it all away, and that's it. Now, since we have the aux 1 wired up to turn this on as a trigger wire, the Jeep's off and we can still turn that on. You can see the rigid is going to be all backlit. Now, there are a ton of different features with this light. This first section here is going to be the spot and flood function of the light. Now, in order to turn on the spotlight, we're just gonna press the power button. And as you can see, we're the farthest out. So I looked out there and we are at a flood pattern. Now, to narrow that, you're gonna hit this right section. And as you can see, it goes closer until you're all the way centered and it's a spot beam out there. To widen it up, simply press that and then it'll completely widen out. Now, to set these to your preferred setting, you have a number 1 and a number 2. Personally, I would suggest keeping a number 1 as almost like a flood and then a number 2 as a spot. But it depends on how you drive and exactly how you want to use this. That's how you're going to do it. Now, to turn that off, press the power button and you can see these go off, which means there's no light on in the front. To get that RGBW backlighting that we've been talking about and is one of the coolest features of this, you've got to press the rigid button up here. And we've already got ours set to red. Now this indicator is going to show exactly what color is being displayed on the outside. You might be wondering, well, it's just red, can you change it? Yes, and it's really cool how you do that. So what we need to do is hold this in for 3 seconds. Now it flashed once, let's see if it does it. Yeah. And now what that's going to do is cycle through all the available colors, and it goes nice and slow too, so you can just follow it and see what color you like. Stop on that, just press it once, and that'll keep you at the RGB. You can see we've got some greens going. It's pretty cool the way that this thing works, and the fact that you can get this really customized to the exact color you like. All right, guys, that's a wrap. We just finished up the installation of our rigid 10-inch adapt light bar. Now, I am really happy to have this on my Jeep, plus the features that this is gonna have off-road is extremely awesome. You can cycle through any sort of beam that you want, flood all the way through to spot, and then the RGB controller on there allows you to really customize this for when you're out on the trail or at a show or pretty much anywhere. I think I'm going to utilize the amber functionality of this to try and stay road legal here in Pennsylvania and just accent it like a marker light on the front there. But you can see it's cycling through here, and the color skews of this are absolutely incredible, and this is an awesome light bar. Huge shout out to Rigid for designing that light switch to fit right in the JL Wrangler. I showed you guys how to do that, and that's why this is more of a specific JL install. However, this light will work perfectly for any off-road rig. It's available from 10-inch all the way up to a 50-inch light bar, and you can put it on just about any vehicle you can find. Now, if you want to check out this Rigid light bar as well as many other great parts for your JL or off-road vehicle, be sure to stop by cjponyparts.com. Hope you enjoyed that video. To stay up to date on our CJ off-road videos, make sure to subscribe up top here, and for any other installs, make sure to click the link right above.